Now, why were you born in Germany? What was the reasoning there?
My mom and my dad met in Berlin. My dad's a musician.
Oh,
and my mother worked in the art department in the House of World Culture in Berlin. She went to school in Paris. She like was raised in Morocco and went to school in Paris and college in Paris, and met a German guy, divorced him, and then met my dad. And yeah.
Now, do you visit Germany?
Yeah.
How often do you go back?
I just came from Germany.
Oh, okay.
Like 2 months ago.
So you go back like annually type of thing?
Yeah.
Or?
I mean, I go back there now a lot more because I work a lot there. A lot of my friends and a lot of the people that contribute to like kind of my artwork and kind of, my videos and, my homies just live there. So I go back there to work with them a lot.
And family, you have family, I would assume, over there?
Yeah,
or?
my father lives over there.
Still living over there?
Yes.
Mother still in America, or?
My mom passed away.
Oh, passed away.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
It's cool.
Now, your upbringing. Tell me about your upbringing. Born in Germany. Did you move around, or did you stay in Germany pretty much your whole life? How did that work?
Well, I was born in Berlin, and I lived there up until I was 9 years old. My mother passed away at 6. She had breast cancer and passed. My father was a traveling musician. Me and my twin brother, because my dad was, traveling, it was just better for us to move to the U.S. with my aunt and uncle into a structured household, where we could just live in structure. Prior to my mother passing, she was kind of that structure for us. So we moved to Washington, D.C., the DMV area, Maryland, to be precise. And I lived there from the 3rd grade to the 6th grade. And then in the 6th grade, I moved back to Berlin to live with my father and his new partner and her kids. And I lived in Berlin from the 6th grade till the 9th grade. And then in the 9th grade, I got in trouble and I moved back to the USA.
Got kicked out.
Yeah, kind of. And moved back to the States to live with my aunt and uncle, back to structure. Failed the fuck out of school, whatever. Barely graduated. Hit 19. I was 18 when I graduated, but I graduated in May. My birthday's in July. So I did my summer school classes to graduate, hit 19, and left for Los Angeles.
Now, would you say you had a rough upbringing? Would you describe it as rough or not really?
I think that circumstantially it was rough, but all the people in my upbringing were super loving. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and say I never got a lot of love. I was never deprived of love. I never went hungry because of my parents. But circumstantially, the things, that the world just kind of brought upon me or us were difficult lessons, definitely. My mother dying early was very difficult. Living with a single dad and then leaving and changing, everything over and over again was definitely hard.
A traveling musician for a father too at that, right?
Yeah. But it wasn't, I don't say that to say that it was a tragedy. It was hard, and it's part of the reason why I am who I am today, and I learned a lot from it, and more of a blessing, It was put in difficult situations, and it could have turned out to be a tragedy, but it wasn't, and it didn't, and I learned a lot from it, and it humbled me. And
sounds like you went through a lot of hurdles.
Yeah, a lot.
Obstacles.
Yeah.
Beyond your control.
Yeah.
How's your relationship with your father today?
Amazing. I have my dad tattooed on me. I just got this done in Dallas. Was it Dallas or Houston? Dallas.
Just got that done. On tour?
Yeah. On tour.
Why that spot?
Because it looks cool.
Well, you
Also, my mother.
You could have put them anywhere on your body.
My mom is right here. You know what I mean? So I might finish this. I don't know.
Now, what do you say to somebody kind of in a similar situation where, I mean, obviously your mother passed and your father was living, but, you know, whether somebody's mother or father passes early and, you know, they're stuck in a single-parent household, what do you say to that person as far as advice to get through that tough situation? I mean, I know for you it was early, 6 years old is early,
Yeah.
but do you have any advice for somebody that has to deal with a death in their family like that?
For sure. What happens in life, right, is that things grow and things die. This is just the cycle of life. This is just the way things are, and it's the way things have been forever. It happens in Mother Nature. You know, plants grow and they die, and it happens in animals and, you know, all around us. So, one has to accept that fact. You know, death is not personal. It's not anyone's fault, you know. You know, so, yeah. Once you realize that it's not personal, then you kind of go through healing phases where, you know, first, understanding that it's not personal and accepting it took me a couple of years. But if I could just jump the gun now, I would. But from then, you just learn that when certain things leave your life, even if they're good things, certain things leave your life, new things come. New qualities are inherited. New lessons are learned. And sometimes, depending on the mentality or the mindset of an individual, you can go two routes, right? You can inherit bad qualities, and you can sorrow, and you can, or be stuck in sorrow, and you can become weak and feel deprived and become angry because you take it personally. You just haven't accepted it yet. You haven't come to terms with your reality yet, you know, which is fine. It takes a while. But in other circumstances, if you're able to lift yourself up and, despite pain, are able to see clearly, force yourself to see clearly, you realize that you're capable of anything. And when you lose somebody close to you, you realize that you don't really need anyone other than yourself. You love people, you know, and you want them around you because you love them. But you were born as your own individual spirit, as your own individual person, in your own individual body. And once you overcome that hurdle, you'll realize that you're capable of anything.
Now, you said you graduated high school. You barely graduated high school.
Yes.
Was college a thought or no?
I mean, no. I think at first it was just because that's what everyone made me feel like I had to do, until I realized that I was going to waste everyone's money. You know? Up until, I was never good at school. So I was bad at school from the beginning. Like second grade, I never got all A's on my report card. I never even got all B's on my report card. I never got all C. There's always a D. And the older I got, the worse I got at school. And it wasn't until like maybe my junior year of high school where I realized, okay, bitch, you got a year left. You're probably not going to go to college because junior year is looking pretty shitty. And to be honest, to be quite frank, for every single year you've come to school and be like, I'm going to, this is a new school year. I'm going to do well this year. And you haven't. So, like, it's always come to the point where it's like, all right, fuck it. I can't do this shit. This is whack. I'm not doing it. So, you probably shouldn't go to college and waste your parents' money. They think they want you to go to college, but they don't really want you to go to college. They're just, scared. And you're going to fail college. And the one thing that you've practiced and you've done consistently your entire life since you came out the womb was music. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to work tirelessly, to put in over 10,000 hours, 20,000 hours of mental and physical labor, to then reach a point to say, but before I do this thing that I actually feel like if I intensely do for another 2 years, I can be a pro at, I'm going to go to school, which I've sucked at my entire life. It just wasn't rational, you know what I mean? So I was like, for the sake of y'all are mad at me and screaming at me right now, just let's not even go there. Let's not even go there. So, yeah, that's my take on college.
Jobs you had growing up, if any?
I was a babysitter. I was a babysitter for like fucking 2 months. Yeah.
Quit or got fired?
I just, she just never called me back.
Hey, that's a nice way of getting fired.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Any crazy stories dealing with that job or no?
I was watching 5 kids, maybe 4. But here's the thing, right? I grew up, so with my aunt and uncle, it was 8 of us. And I was the oldest. Me and my twin brother were the oldest out of 8. And they're like my siblings. So I grew up with 6 little fucking kids running around the house. I was 19 at the time. I'm used to being big sister, bro. I'm sorry, I am not mommy. I'm not about to no, you can't. Yeah. I'm not like that. I'm like, all right, stop crying. What do you want? You know what I mean? That's how I am because I have 6 siblings, right? And I tell them to shut up because they are annoying when I'm watching TV and shit. You know what I mean? So maybe I was a little too immature for that job at the time.
Now, does anybody else, obviously your father does music. Do any of your other siblings do music too?
No.
Just you?
Yes.
What does your father think of your music career?
I think he's proud. We don't talk about it much. Well, every now and then he'll ask me questions, the same questions over and over and over again, like all parents do. Questions that I can't even answer.
So even though he's a musician and you're a musician, you don't really talk about that side of things much?
We talk about music.
Ah.
We don't talk about my career.
Ah, I see.
You know what I mean? My dad and I communicate in music better than we communicate in words, through words. The way that I learned the language of music was the same way I learned English. The same way you speak English around a toddler and say, whatever, have an English dialogue or whatever, and they eventually pick up on mama and dada and,
right.
and yes and no, was the same way that I picked up on the language of music. Vocally, just, because my dad would play the guitar all the time around the house. And emotions are just, it's a very intuitive language, you know what I mean? Sometimes you can explain yourself or you can show what you're feeling or the exact specific emotion you're feeling when you can't find the words to describe it. So we talk about music because that's just both of our intuitive, first fluent language. It's our mother tongue.
But you don't talk about your career.
I mean, I get it. Every now and then he'll ask me a question. I'm like, what? You know what I mean? But
is it something you just kind of want him to stay away from, and you kind of make your own decision making and stuff like that, or is it just something that he kind of just doesn't?
No, it's something that I kind of want him to stay away from. I'm very independent when it comes to, and I'm also funny when it comes to work and family. because I'm a different person in my family and to the people I love than I am in my job, you know, and as far as business is concerned. So it just gets funny when those conversations are held, because I know my dad is also biased to me. It can get messy.
Have you guys collabed music-wise?
Absolutely, yeah. He played on my last EP, Free the Real. He has credits on the Rihanna album with me. Yeah, that's Pops. My dad and I collaborate all the time. Almost every time I see him.
Now, when it comes to your father, what's the worst thing you think you put him through?
I think I've redeemed myself for all the bad things that I put him through. I think that I put my parents through a hard time because I wasn't somebody who was willing. I was a kid who was not willing to conform, which is difficult when you're 14, 13, 15, and you march to the beat of your own drum and you do what you want. But because I did that, I am who I am today, and I've accomplished the things that I've accomplished today at the age that I have. So at the time, I would say school and da-da-da-da. But I've redeemed myself. I feel like I have.
What's your message to the youth, overall speaking?
Well, what I want to do as an artist is I want to make it fucking cool and make it okay to be exactly who you are. I don't want people to look at me and want to be like me. I want people to look at me and want to be like them. And beyond that, I want to unify us, because I feel like we are the freest generation that the world has ever seen. We've had the privileges of being exposed to things that our parents and our parents' parents just haven't. We saw like a first black man come into the White House, the president. You know, we grew up with the legalization of gay marriage, you know, same-sex marriage, the legalization of marijuana. These are all normal things to us. Or these are things that we grew up in. This is the generation we grew up in. I want to unify us. And I also feel like we are literally the generation who determines how the next 20 years are going to go. Especially with like the whole new discovery or evolution of technology in the internet. That sounds all mad preachy, but basically my message to the youth is be who the fuck you are, and, you know, create guidelines and morals for yourself, and understand that you are capable of anything. We as a generation are capable of anything in the world. And we're at the age now where we don't have as much to lose as our parents, you know. And it's important for us to set our ideas and our dreams and all of the things that we want to be into motion. Like anything could happen, you know. That's my message to the youth.